Hey everyone. StreamYard takes a minute to kind of warm up, so I'm going to give it a sec to stream out to LinkedIn, YouTube, and on StreamYard. So we've got 60 people joining. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me, see me, everything's working okay. I love the feedback. Hey, Vancouver. Hi, Brazil, Kansas, London, Brooklyn, Union City. Amazing. Miami. I'm in Miami. I'm gonna have to keep drinking this hot tea every once in a while. If you can tell, my voice is it's not what I usually. This is not my usual voice. Maybe I can try to keep this one though. It sounds kind of cool. Loud and clear. Thank you. Okay, excellent. So we're going to talk about jumpstarting your job search. I will do it through the lens of Teal. I will use Teal as kind of like my sort of process backbone, but a lot of the things I show you can do in really any tool. I'm just going to kind of use Teal to structure me and give tactics. And at any point, I can kind of call that out, and I'll give some alternative ways that you can do it. So we'll do that. I love questions. I stop for questions every once in a while. I will maybe try to pose a few questions to the group as well, and try to keep it engaging. But I love questions. Ultimately, this is about serving you guys. Job search is different for everyone, and so there are no universal truths in job searching. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's context is different. Occupations are different. Markets are different. So, you know, the situations for everyone are infinite. So no question is too specific. If you want to, if you want to sort of maintain anonymity, which I understand is also important in the job search, you can sign up with like an alias or something and then post your question that way. So we totally understand. Yeah, love the polling, Mark. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we will jump right in. I need to add my screen share into the mix. Let's add that one. All right, so I'm going to put this over here so I don't distract myself looking at myself. And I'll put that right there. Let me close a few things. All right, cool. Y'all seeing my screen okay? Great. So something when it comes to job searching that I think is really important is I've seen a lot of people sort of jump right into making their resume and editing their resume. And oftentimes that even becomes a bit of an impediment to them making progress in their job search. And I really think what you want is like person market fit, and markets change, especially if you haven't job searched in a little while, been a few years. I mean, honestly, the market's pretty volatile right now. I speak from a US perspective. So for the international folks, sorry if that's a little bit embedded in the way that I sort of describe the job market, but a lot of it is sort of 80% applicable. So what I recommend is that you start with understanding the market and looking at jobs. Even if you're not ready to apply, I always recommend look at jobs. So we're going to do that by heading over to the job search within Teal. I'm going to use a logged in, upgraded Teal account. 90% of Teal is free. I will try to call out what are the features that are premium. So, I used to do this with like a free account, but it was kind of annoying in the middle of the webinar to upgrade the account. So the majority of Teal is free. And so I'll just call out when something isn't. We'll also, for anyone that is a Teal member, we'll randomly pick 5 people and upgrade your accounts. So make sure you have your emails. We have the registrations. If you were here and present, we'll send you an email after the event. If you already have an account, we'll credit it, to your account. So thank you for joining. Okay, so searching for jobs is key. And so we are, for the purposes of this demonstration, going to be Tina Miller, who is a senior marketer. And so job titles are pretty tricky. You obviously can search by job title. Let's say like senior marketing manager. I use this great transcription tool called Whisperflow. I highly recommend it. I'm really bad at typing. And so Tina wants to be remote. And so let's search results. So already here you're seeing we're getting a ton of results. And I would say 10,000 is almost too much. You really don't start to get a sense of the market, the market. But even this job title is like quite broad. So another approach you could take is let's not use a job title, and we can use advanced filters. And so now we can say, keywords. Let's say Salesforce. Well, yeah, I'd probably use Salesforce. Content marketing. I'll add that. Influencer marketing. And so now I could get results. Well, I got 0 results. Maybe I got a little too. I'd say there's maybe no jobs. So there we go. Just got rid of those 96. So now these are jobs. And I can learn about different titles. So this is, I'm searching for content marketing in Salesforce, and I can see what kind of job titles given skills. So it's a way to kind of discover the market. But then I can also then go in and understand what are the responsibilities the market is asking for, what are the requirements the market's asking for. And then you can start to bookmark these jobs and save them. So I think there's like a really important research component. It's a little bit like a go slow to go fast, which feels counterintuitive in the job search, but I think it's really important. The more you understand the market and the more deliberate you can be, the more I think successful you can be. So what I would start to do is start to bookmark a bunch of jobs that I think are like interesting for me. Okay, digital marketing consultant. This might be too low of a comp for me. So let me go ahead and say, I want 100 plus. So now that whittled it down. And so, because that is part of the market. Part of the market is what you want as well. It's not just what the market wants from me. You want alignment of like, what do I want to do? And is there a market for what I want to do? And so the more you can meet those two things in the middle, the higher chances are that you're going to have a good match and alignment. So I'm just going to bookmark a few jobs. If I've already bookmarked, it's already here. You can do this on LinkedIn, Indeed, Google Jobs, built-in, Glassdoor. It doesn't have to be in Teal. We just have one that's integrated. It makes it really easy to go right into your tracker. And I know the advanced filters well. And there's other filters you can do. If there's other things that matter to you, you want to search by companies if you're looking for startups, by investor, we have some pretty neat filters. Now, this would be for the research. And now, if I was looking for jobs to apply to, I would probably want to filter them by posted in the last 24 hours because speed to application is key. But when you're doing research, they can be really old because it can give you a sense of the market. All right, so now that those are there, I can come over to my job tracker. And so I recommend you start to bookmark these jobs and save them. You're doing a Google Sheet, Airtable, Notion, an Excel spreadsheet with just saving the JDs. I think saving the JDs is really important because that's how you can start to understand what the market is. And what cool things you can do is like take all those job descriptions, paste them into ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and tell me what are some of the common patterns you see. Teal doesn't have that built in, but I think augmenting it with all these other great AI tools that exist is a great way to understand the market. But the JD is here, so you can very quickly copy paste it. We do extract out the keywords for you, so you can very quickly get a summary of what the company cares about. They're sorted by prevalence. You can also group them by category, so hard skill, soft skill, things like that. And that stays consistent as you look at jobs. So having a tracker, there's really good ones. Hunter is really good. Simplify makes one. JobScan makes one. I think Hunter is phenomenal. It's HUNTR, I believe. They're great products, but again, like we're all integrated here, but you can also just put it in a Notion file, however you'd like. But here you can now quickly start to see. Well, one of the things we try to do is we try to make the job descriptions consistent. This one somehow made its way through the cracks with its formatting. But they will always be about the job, responsibilities, requirements. We try to make these consistent. Now, you do have the original job description here if you want to see it as it was posted. But we try to make them consistent because every company writes them differently. So that's a little bit of just kind of like remove some of the friction from the job search process. All right, let me pause there and see if there's any questions. When jobs are, so Diane, we get the signal from, we purchase the job data from a few different data providers. And so if they give us an expiration date, we absolutely try to take it off. But sometimes they don't give it to us. And so we're trying to be better about that. So we intend to, sometimes they slip through the cracks, and we're working on our expiration system to make it better. Our job board is 99% US jobs. We want to get really good at that first, and then we will expand it into like all sort of primarily English speaking countries. We have access to the job data to do that, but we've just been focused on that for now. So coming soon, we just rebuilt our whole job data pipeline to enable us to do that. But right now it's mostly US jobs. Yeah, Mark, I didn't see you ask that question, but I think I preempted it. Right here, you just do original job description. So it's in there. It doesn't always come in formatted perfectly because they're not provided super clean, but it is there. And we're working on our parser to make sure it doesn't drop anything, which sometimes the AI does drop some things. So it is worthwhile looking at it. If you want to see the kind of structured version only, you have that as well. If you want to see keywords only. And the cool thing is it does keep that. So as you jump around to jobs, you can do that. We do have a way to bring in jobs if you use the Teal Chrome extension. You install that, and now it's a little bird here. It used to be in the page. We're kind of not allowed to do that on a lot of sites. So this is a way to make it compliant. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can save a job. If you're on Indeed, you can save a job. You just click the little duck. I'm not going to do that, but it'll bring it in for you. And that's another way to do it. So also recommend you use lots of job boards to do that. All right, cool. Emily's in the group as well. A lot of you probably engage with her through support, so she's going to try to help field some of the questions. But if you have any, I will also try to let them. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so that's the research and understanding like what matters to you, right? Once you have that market understanding, then what we recommend is building out a master resume. And Teal is built fundamentally on the idea of a master resume. So I'm going to head over to our resume builder for that. I'm using, again, Tina Miller's account, so she already has a bunch of resumes built out. And I'm not going to go through the starting process. But conceptually, a master resume, think of it as everything you've ever done. Where I've seen folks get tripped up when they're writing their resume is they're trying to create and curate at the same time. And they try to make this one document. I also think this is where a lot of the pressure on resume length and things like that comes from, is they try to make one document that encapsulates the entirety of their career. And what they end up doing is making like a very generic version of themselves to try to sort of appease anyone that might read it. And so fundamentally, I think that's wrong, right? That's like going to a restaurant that serves every kind of food, just in case you want Italian one day or sushi one day, or you want a steakhouse, right? You don't want to be that restaurant. You want to be the person that says, I want to go to sushi today and I want to go to the best sushi restaurant in my town. But you may also want one day to go to Italian. And a more specific version of that is, say you're a marketer, if you're a social media marketer, or if you're a social media marketer that works on enterprise products versus a social media marketer that works on luxury beauty brands. Those are very different. And those are the kinds of things that companies actually really care about. They care about that specificity because you're in a market where other people do have that specificity. So a master resume allows you to write down everything you've ever done, because we've all got so many experiences, but the companies don't care about 90% of them, right? I studied architecture. I know how to video edit. I know how to do all sorts of things. But if I were applying for a chief growth officer position again, I probably wouldn't put on that I know Premiere, right? Because I don't think that's going to help me that much. Maybe if I was applying to a small startup where I needed to be a generalist, that might be helpful. So that context is really key. What we don't want is for you to have to sort of delete any aspects of who you are. So a master resume solves for this problem. And so we'll come in and I'm going to make a new resume here from scratch. And like I said, Teal is built fundamentally on this idea of a master resume. You can do this in Google Docs. You can do this in Microsoft Word. The main point, you can do it in Notion, is having more of a database of everything you've ever done with the facts so that you can then cherry pick real quickly for what a company cares about. Like my sort of one-liner on this is you want to show the 10% of you that's 100% relevant to them. And then that way you can be sort of super focused, and then your resume won't become long because you're only putting what matters to them on there, but you're also not needing to kind of strip away these important parts of you that you're proud of. You just want to show them to the people who care about them. So now here we've got everything. We've got different versions of our professional summary. And the way you initially set this up, I recommend, is like importing your resume. When you first create an account, if you don't have one already, it'll prompt you to, but if you wanted to overwrite it, you go here and you can import it. You can import your LinkedIn, You can import an existing resume. We don't do a great job of merging them today. We want to get better at that. So you sort of start and then you build up from there. And so here you can see professional summaries, work experience, you've got companies, you've got positions. I would say you want 20, 30 bullets per position. So here's different positions. They get grouped up. You can collapse them by company. I'll get into some of the interface stuff as well. But here, let me go ahead and collapse all companies. So there's my companies. Then I've got my education, my skills and interests. And you really want this to be exhaustive. You want it to have everything you've ever done because you don't have to worry about curating right now. You can just focus on creating. All right. Does that master resume concept make sense? Does everyone kind of understand the value of it? Any questions on that? I sold it pretty hard. Does it? So yeah, Nigel, the question is, does master resume approach apply to writing professional summaries? I like tailoring your professional summary. I'll get into tailoring in a little bit, and I'll talk about kind of, if you have limited time, what are the things that you should focus on tailoring. And the professional summary is one of the ones that I do like to tailor because it's your little bit of like your intro, kind of like micro cover letter if you don't have one. So I do like tailoring those. But you could also have different versions if you're applying to, again, let's use this marketing example. If you're applying generally to like enterprise companies, B2C companies, startups, you might just have like 3 versions that you just alternate between. So you don't need to go like full tailoring. I would call that like tailoring light. So you could do that as well. But generally, my position is you want to contextualize your professional experience to the audience rather than having the audience adapt to one version of you, because you are multifaceted. You've done a lot of things across your career, and the job description is generally like pretty specific in what they want. So the more you can be the square peg to their square hole, the less they need to do with their imagination on like how you would be successful. Okay, cool. I see Emily's answering some of the questions. Great. Okay, so filling out your master resume. We'll skip the professional, get all your contact info in there. There's best practices on this. I'm not going to go into those, but generally keep off anything that could help them exactly understand where you live, like an address and stuff like that. City, state, that's fine. Your LinkedIn profile, email address, maybe a phone number, make it easy for them to get in touch with you, which is great. Target titles, these are the titles you're going after. I'm a big fan of sort of headline. I'll get into that when we get into a little bit of the tailoring and professional summaries we just talked about. But the work experience, I think, is where I'll spend a little bit of time here. And we'll go ahead and expand one of these. And you really want to give yourself lots of bullets. And so what we'll do is we'll use our job matching functionality, not to tailor right now, but to build out our master resume. So even if you have an old job, like one of the things, if you have the JDs from your current job or previous job, those are great too. So what I would like say in this case, Tina, from her time at Twitter, she was a marketing coordinator. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some content to marketing coordinator, and we're going to use an existing JD to help inspire that, because a lot of times people don't remember what they did. So let's go ahead and go to our job matcher, and let's look for marketing coordinator. And we'll search those. And so I'm looking for some marketing coordinator jobs. Obviously, they're going to be more junior than what I'm looking for. But what I want is to use the JD as kind of like inspiration to help me remember what I did. So here we'll just take this marketing coordinator. I'll look at that. Sure, that works. Yeah, we're just using it. So we'll go ahead and match job. Again, we're a little bit like hacking the matching mode. Matching mode is sort of positioned as this thing for tailoring, but it's also a great way to use it as inspiration for creating resume content. So what I can do now is I have it here in the same settings you have in the job search. We can go ahead and look at it as like the JD summary. I'll turn off keywords in this particular case because we're not looking to like optimize keywords. And I can look at some of the job responsibilities. Own social media presence across Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It's like, oh, I did do that. And those keywords are not on my resume. So let me go ahead and add that into my experience at Twitter. And so we'll go ahead and add a bullet. And we'll go ahead and write with AI. And it's going to suggest ones. It's generally going to give you 2 with metrics and 1 without. some folks aren't as comfortable doing metrics. But you can also have other ways of creating bullets. And so bullets are, let's call it 70% of your resume. They really are the substance. So for your master resume, sure, like knock out the facts, where you went to school, where you worked, when. But those aren't really going to change. You're going to tailor those. Those are the facts. Uh, we can use the keywords that are from the job description in this particular case. So we can add some of these. But I'm going to go ahead and use the job description in this particular case. Sometimes it's a little slower than others. I'm going to use this as a tea break. So there's that bullet, and I want to respond to that bullet. And so I'll pick that. And so here we go. Now it's going to write me bullets that respond to that responsibility. So I'll go ahead and use that bullet. You can modify the numbers. Some folks get really anxious about the accuracy of these. I think it's okay to kind of, generalize. So I'll say like 30%. We like this idea of like time-based statements. It makes them a little more concrete. If you don't like them, you can just remove them. And we'll go ahead and save that. And so now I have those. Again, I'm not really paying attention to the match score here because I'm not applying to this job. I'm using this job as, again, like inspiration for what the market is looking for, and also as like a mental prompt, because a lot of folks don't remember what they did. So understanding what other JDs could be a great way for you to do that. Let me show you another way to add a bullet that I think is great when you're filling out your master resume, when you're doing that like initial content. So we'll go ahead and add a bullet. We'll write with AI again, and this time we're going to have it coach you. So what it's going to do is it's going to use the title to then ask you some questions. What did you do? You can add your own if you wanted as a bit of a prompt. So I worked on marketing strategy. I'll continue. And then, what did I do? I improved sales revenue or things like that. And then it'll use those inputs to write bullets for you. So it's really kind of like helping you. Because again, a lot of folks just like, I don't remember what I did, and they struggle, but you did amazing things. You're probably doing things that you could write bullets about every single day. And with the master resume, you can really load it up. So I'll just go ahead and pick that, use that bullet, and I'll save it. And then I wanted to show this other technique, a couple other ways, if you were to just do it manually. So when you're in matching mode, the matching mode stays up. So I'm going to come over to Content Editor and click within here. And what you'll see is you get some more like manual tools. These are free. The AI credits, I think you get like 5 for free. So you can still use those and take some advantage of that. But this is all free, what I'm showing you right here. So you have some like manual suggestions. You have this assistant, which is like this little like Mad Libs tool where you can build up what you did, which is kind of fun and helpful. And it's going and constructing your bullet down here. We have some examples of bullets you can use. And then we have some prompts, not AI prompts, but more just like ways to help you remember what you did. And then you can also use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini to help you write bullets, and then use your master resume, again, Teal or anywhere else, as this like repository where you save everything. I'll go ahead and cancel that. And then another cool thing, if you do go back and you're using these JDs as like this matching mode, if we go to keywords only, in the skills section, I like to put in like softwares and hard skills. It's a little tricky to put in more like soft skill, more like activities, like the verbs. You kind of want those in the body in the work experience, but something like a software in particular. Let's see here in this one, what we've got. I'm not going to waste too much time on it because I just want to show the functionality. So something like this, say this was TikTok or LinkedIn ads. You can just go ahead and click add skills as you hover. And so that's a great way to fill out your skills section and put in those keywords that they're looking for. So anything that's like a technology or a very specific tactic, I really like skills sections for that. But you also kind of want to prove it in the work experience. All right, so that's the master resume. That's filling it out. Again, I would put everything, every award and scholarship, every project you've ever done, get it all in here because you don't need to use it all. That's really the beauty of the master resume. All right, let me pause here and look for some more questions. Let's see. Oh, Emily's answering a bunch, which is great. Yeah, Diane, it's kind of, I mean, our interface doesn't make it obvious, but it is a great way to get a little inspiration for things you did in the past, because that's like the market telling you what the job is, and a lot of folks don't keep their old JDs. Any guidance on dealing with consulting experience? We have multiple orgs, multiple clients. So, like, I'm a huge fan of name dropping, because you have like familiarity bias. So, what I would do there is there's a few ways you can handle that. Again, I'm doing this all through the lens of Teal, but I just want to keep reiterating. You can do this in Google Docs. You can do this anywhere. You could do, you could make your first bullet, as like senior consultant, worked with clients such as XYZ. You could also edit the company. And so let's just say this was Acme Consulting Group. And you could say large global organization where my team focused on improvements and optimizations for companies such as Google, Disney, and Apple. And so now you're kind of like name dropping right there. You have that in there, and you can group that together. You could even, put it in the job title and sort of put, company names here. That's probably a little bit of a reach. I wouldn't do that. But you can also do it at the position description. Let me just go ahead because I'm a little bit of a lazy writer, although transcription helps. You could also do it at the position level. You edit the position, paste that in there, and you can give yourself a position description. And it's right there. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of position descriptions. I don't think there are no like universal truths on job searching. I don't think any of them truly matter that much in the sense of getting hired or not getting hired. But I personally am not a fan because I think that they make more visual noise, right? Because now you have like something that's in line with this, something that's in line with this, then you have bullets. I feel like the substance of the position really should just be in the bullets. But sometimes adding context at the position level can be helpful. What I see a lot of people do is just like put the equivalent of a bullet under. So it really have it be context. Don't have it be the same content in another visual way. I'm always optimizing for consistency and just making it easier for the reader to ingest the content. Hopefully that answered your question. That was this question. I'll just, if anyone was curious. Yeah. So yes, that's it. It was kind of buried in the job tracker. We recently sort of pushed it a little more forward into the resume builder. So that should make it easier to get those keywords in there. Okay. All right, great. We'll move on. So now let's actually find a job we want to apply to. So Tina is looking for marketing director positions. Let's go ahead and look for one of those. Marketing director. And so now, again, this is native to Teal, which is kind of handy, is that you do get a match score. It's using the entirety of your resume to pull the match score. So it's just like of all the abilities you have, what keywords do you have? You'd obviously still tailor at that point. Some of these are probably, so let's go ahead and make, 4,500 jobs is still kind of a lot. So let's say Tina wants to make over 150. That's getting us down a little. Let's say Tina wants to be on site in New York, down to 264 jobs. That's pretty good. So senior marketing director, product marketing, Tina's not going to be as qualified for that. So now you can kind of toggle through these, but you saw how big Tina's master resume was, and still the match scores are fairly low. That goes to show you like the specificity at which some of these companies are asking for requirements. And so also, as you tailor more resumes and you build out your master resume, you will have more and more of your content there. So let's just go ahead and director of marketing at Morningstar. Sure, 36%. Right from here, this increased match score just takes you straight to creating a resume. And so we'll create a resume for this job to apply for it. So it's going to do some of the matching and keyword creation right there. We have some features that are currently in beta and hidden. I made sure to use an account that's not my account, so I don't think that's there. Let's see. Yeah, we have a feature that's a teensy bit flaky that like automatically matches for you. We're trying to bring it back so it does a better job, but it is not here right now. Okay, cool. So now what we can quickly do is, it's a bit manual, but obviously the ones that have some kind of green highlighting, that means we actually have keyword presence. I'm going to turn off the company and position descriptions. You know, we're getting pretty good coverage. This one doesn't have any of the keywords, so I'll just ditch that one. But we've got pretty good keyword coverage. We probably have a lot of keyword duplication, but yeah, down here, I'm already getting a bunch that don't have any keywords. So again, we want to automate this for you, but that's ultimately what you're looking for, is like just don't include content that they don't care about. So you filter those out. See, my score didn't go down at all. But now let's go ahead and add some content. So what I'll do first is look through and see if there's any like hard skills or techniques. I like to do that. Instead of grouping them by keyword, I group them by JD section. So I can also see like what really matters. So, you know, obviously I want to address all the requirements. Right now, our match score doesn't weight them by section. We want to do that for you eventually, but right now they're equal weight. But so just from a best practice perspective, I would focus on requirements first. So, okay, marketplaces, adoption. Okay, some of the aligned. I'm just going to ignore that. Also, you know, our AI tends to cast a wider net because we'd rather have stuff that you can then exclude versus miss stuff. Now, that doesn't mean we don't miss things. We do. We're going to bring back the ability to add your own custom keywords, which we lost in this recent update. We'll bring that back. But let's see here. Like, yeah, proactive. I'm going to go ahead and ignore that. So I would typically ignore the ones that don't matter. Share insights. Yeah. Best in class. Yeah. So some of these you can ditch. I'm not going to make waste your guys' time with all of that. And then things that are, I think, you know, design and lead. Yeah, maybe I would add that as a keyword in my skills. Partner relationships. Sure, I'll add that to my skills. Demand generation. I'll add that to my skills. So those are going straight into my skills section. Right. So I'm already at pretty good at 49%. And so let's go ahead and add a bullet. You know, now I can say, okay, where did I do some of these things? You can do that right from here. So let's say I want to address this marketplace one. If you click the create bullet right from there, you say, what job did you do that at? So I say I did that at Regis. I'll continue. And so it's the same bullet flow, but you're doing it over here from the keywords. You don't have to go and sort of change your context. So marketplaces, client experience, and I'll go ahead and add integrated campaign, and I'll generate bullets for those. And so now you can pick. Again, we always kind of try to give you some with metrics and some without. You know, not everyone's comfortable adding metrics if they don't entirely remember them. We'll go ahead and save that. And right from here, I just bump myself up another 6%. And what you can do is like right from here, just address this. So, you know, generate revenue. Let's go ahead and add a keyword for that. I did that at Acme Consulting. I did that by getting new clients. I had an initiative for that. We'll generate a bullet. The highlighting, I will say, is a little tricky sometimes if like the tense isn't perfect. That's in here, but it doesn't highlight it. So we have to work on that. And we'll go ahead and save it. And so now I'm at 65. I think if you're in the 70s, it's good. You know, again, I'd probably want to really focus on the requirements and making sure I'm getting those. You know, roll up your sleeves. You know, I'm just going to ignore that. I probably want to like something culturally like that I may address in my professional summary. So to the question about professional summaries, now, if we come back over to our content editor, let's see how we're doing. Well, this is a bunch of junk we can turn off. We'll ignore that for now because I turned it all on for you guys to see it. So let's turn off that. Let's turn off these publications. You can also use the resume preview to navigate to these. If you click, it takes you right to it. Let's turn off these awards. Okay, so I'd probably try to get this to 2 pages, but, we're not gonna focus on that too much right now. And so now my professional summary, I'll probably make a new one because it uses all the content that's currently turned on, and I'll go ahead and write that with AI. So great, and if you have a job matched, it pulls some of that in. Sometimes it gets, you don't need this exact bullet, but you can tweak it a little bit. So there we go. All right, so this is pretty tailored and good to go. Now, if you do want to tweak the design a little bit, you can do that all here, all that data. Part of what the way Teal works is we kind of flip it. We have you focus on your content first and then your template. If you're using like a document editor, obviously it's very hard to change your template after the fact. So folks looks for their template first. You can do that here too as well if you want to make sure you have like an aesthetic you like and you feel like represents you well. One of the cool things with the way Teal's built is it's just data. So you can pick from some of our other templates if you want. It doesn't change anything content-wise. We have some that are a little more traditional. So I can use that template. And then I can come in and modify it if I want. If I wanted to, there's some important things in the data that are not obvious. So I wanted to show those. But even if you wanted your alignment for your header to be left aligned, things like that. You want the dates on the right, you can do that. You want the locations on the right, you can do that. The skills, personally, I like a comma separated skills list. I think it's like a real dense way for people to receive it, but a lot of folks do like the columns. They take significantly more space. You can try to maybe do 4 columns if you want. But again, I like this version. I find it to be a little crisper. Personal preference, so whatever you feel works for you. But the cool thing is you can manipulate that very easily here because it's just the data. And then you can adjust things like, if you're a recent grad and you want to do education first, you can do that. You have full control of how those sections line up. Put that down here. And then you have some other settings for how you render the data. So this is really important. Tina had 2 positions at Regis. There's no right and wrong way to do it. Teal's default is that we group the positions under a company because it does take less space, but you can do work experience by position. So what that does is it shows the position and then the company under each one. It adds an extra line, but some people prefer that. They want to sort of make the position primary, totally up to you. I feel like there's more familiarity bias with the company names. There's no right and wrong answer. Do whatever makes you feel best, but you can alternate it here. And sometimes that's not clear for where people is. And we also try to show maximum tenure when we show dates, from your first day at the company to your last day at the company versus first day at a position and last day at a position. But if you want to do it that way, you can. You just change it here to show dates by, and it shows the start and end date, and you can show progression. My general best practice to do that is if you've had positions for more than 2 or 3 years, go ahead and do that. If the tenure was shorter, my concern is always that people are going to skim the resume looking real quick, and they may not realize that those were all at the same company, and they just may assume you're job hoppy. I don't think anyone's ever going to ding you for being at a company for too long. I shouldn't say ever. Sure, there's lots of biases in hiring. But tenure is generally seen as a positive. And so that's why I like it. But whatever you feel works for you. There are no universal truths in job searching. The cool thing about the way we built this is you can do whichever you want, and it's not destructive to the data. So it's all there. We have like the facts and then how you want to present the facts. And then there's some other kind of like slight styling things if you want to change the bullets. These advanced settings are premium. You can tweak them to see if you like them, and then you could upgrade after the fact. So that you can change font sizing and all sorts of different stuff. All right, any questions here? I'm going to take a quick beat for questions. Yeah, team comma separated here, but again, it all works fine. Let's see, it seems like you guys are answering. Yeah, metrics are often not shared. When it comes to metrics, I'm okay with approximations. I do think I made a post maybe last week on the science behind metrics. And there's a lot of UX research and copywriting research and marketing research on how we just respond to metrics. And so I would even like, as you're out in the world, look at that. Look at the ads that you resonate with, the things that stop your scroll. If you're thinking about buying, if you're in the market for a product, you know, do you pay attention? Do you believe the ones that are more numeric? We're very affected by it. We almost like take them as facts as soon as we see numbers. So it helps. It objectively helps. Research shows it helps, but it's not a requirement, right? Ultimately, what you're trying to do is prove to someone or get them to believe that you are capable of doing the thing you said you did. And we just kind of write a generic description of like, I manage the website. It's like, okay, versus, I managed our website and grew the conversion, or grew our traffic by 200% and then increased conversion by 15%. It's like, wow, that's like real business impact. And the fact that you put those numbers on there makes it more believable. So if you can do it, but no one's going to audit you. No one's going to call the previous company and say, hey, was it 14.3% versus 15? So, and I think, I'm of the belief that most people have integrity and believe in what they're doing. So I can understand it's uncomfortable to feel like you're lying, but you're not. I think it's okay to use, a little bit of selling and marketing of yourself in this process. Okay, let's see. Got a good question here from Charles. ATS compliant is a myth. Yeah, let's talk about that. All right, so let's talk about that in the context here of exporting. So now you've got your resume good to go. Let's go ahead and export the PDF. You can also create a cover letter. I'm not going to do it now. I'll just hit the button. You can change a couple settings, change the tone. We just say match job description. You can pick a few things of the job description if you want to address specifically. I'm just going to ignore that, hit apply, and it'll write it and it'll have the exact same style as your resume stylistically, which is nice. So as you can see, it just matches your resume style, and then you can modify it here. But let's go ahead and export. You can export them together or individually. We'll export the resume. We do a quick check for you. We do have this analysis mode that I didn't cover. It really looks for best practices. I would say use your judgment. It's really trying to help you, and it's kind of a one-size-fits-all analysis. So you don't, and I understand we use a score, and we all want to get to 100%, but this one is saying, it's got to try to have between 3 and 5%. It's 3 and 5 bullets. It's okay. It's a little bit longer. We're going to work to make this a little more contextual. So it's fine, but it's really there to guide you and do a check. I'd say if you're in the 70s, that's great. So we'll go here. We do those kind of quick checks for you. We do a kind of visual, like, are you sure you have all the sections on that you want? And you just go ahead and export that. You can see my messy desktop. And you might want to name it like with your name. That's generally the best practice. And there you go. And so when it comes to ATS compliance, it's a bit overblown to the comment that was made. But there are some technical things you want to look out for. If say you make your resume in something like Photoshop, it could be what's raster, which is pixels. And so if you open your resume and just like click and drag and the text is highlightable, you're in a pretty good place. That means that when a recruiter goes into their ATS and searches by keywords, right? So I'll give a very real example from when we were hiring for an engineer. We got 1,000 applicants for an engineer, and our software's backend is built in a language called Ruby on Rails. We had 1,000 resumes. So we just did a search for Ruby on Rails, and half the resumes did not have Ruby on Rails on them. So we discarded those because they didn't show they had the skill. That's about as sophisticated as it gets. So, and I think the more high volume, the more you're starting to see some automated things. So, high volume recruiting might be like a ski lodge, like hiring ski instructors for the winter season. They might need to hire 200 people in a span of a month. So they use like high volume recruiting. So they might use more automated systems, Amazon for their warehouses and things like that. But as you get to like more knowledge worker positions, those things really don't get used very much. And it's really a recruiter manually looking at them and then using tools like Boolean searches to search the contents of resumes. So you really want that. Other places where having it auto-populate the application, if it can't parse it well, that's annoying for you, but ultimately the resume will still get in and they will still see it. Workday is like notoriously bad at that. But they still see generally a PDF of the resume. They see a preview. Almost every ATS just has like a PDF viewer or a Word viewer. Now, I will say Word, you do run the risk that the formatting gets a little distorted because they're not great at rendering the Word format, but all the content will still be there. It's totally fine. But unless they explicitly say we need a Word doc, you're also typically fine with PDFs. The main thing I would look out for is that like when you open it and it copies the text, does it like, can you copy paste it into a like notes doc? And that I would say is like the extent of ATS compliance that you should worry about. All right, so now you've got that exported, you've got that saved. Let's come back over to our tracker. Here's that job. And here is the link to that. Oh, what do you know is a Workday application. So I would go, we're not going to try to, Simplify is great. They have a fantastic application fill out tool. Like I really like to call out other tools that are great. Highly recommend it. I forgot I had it installed on Tina's account, but check it out. It's a great product. It really helps with filling out. And they're one of the few that support Workday. So check them out. But then you come in, apply. I'm not going to make us go through all that. And then update your tracker. And what gets measured gets managed. And so now that you've got an application out, what I'd start to think about is developing a cadence, right? You can, right within Teal on your home, you can set an application goal per week, depending, I think something like 100, there are very few times that are truly 100 new jobs every week that you'd be fully qualified for. It happens, but not super common. So set something that's realistic that you're truly qualified for. Sometimes just activity is not the same as productivity. I really orient towards quality over quantity. Something like Teal should make it much easier and faster to do your tailoring, but focus on jobs that you're truly qualified for, and set yourself a goal, 5 a week, 10 a week. I try to front load the week, generally from just like what I see in hiring patterns. There's more energy of sourcing and screening at the beginning of the week. And also speed to application is key. So really focus on getting those applications out. Set yourself a schedule. Look every morning, see what's out, maybe do an end of day check-in. Jobs are always getting posted, and try to apply within 24 hours of posting if you can. And set those goals and keep that cadence. And then measure the efficacy of your funnel. We're going to try to bring some more analytics tools, like if you're getting better response rates from online applications or if you're getting better response rates from referrals. So those things are coming. We're actively working on that. If you have ideas, feedback, send it our way. But that's all going to be in your job tracker. So, wrong tool. So let's say this job now, we got called back in for an interview. So we got that email. You do have you have guidance here as well. So you may want to follow up. Here's an email template on how to follow up. It's not very AI or smart, so you can just copy paste it and tweak it. So those are there. You can then set yourself a follow-up. So if you set a follow-up date for, let me follow up on Tuesday, we'll send you an email Tuesday morning, say, hey, you wanted to follow up for that position at Morningstar. So those alerts, that's all free. They also then are on your home, like that day, you'll see it here when you log in. And now we'll say we got that email and we moved it over to interviewing. Go ahead and schedule your interview. And a feature we have that I really love, but we don't really talk about that much, so I'll show it here to you guys, is our practice interviews. So we'll go ahead and do a new practice session. Let me go ahead and use it here. I do not want to use my iPhone. I'm use the Black Magic and allow while visiting the site. So there we go. So we'll go ahead. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it. So let's see. So you can see the transcripts. I'm doing great. How are you doing? Oh, live demo. It looked like it might have broke. All right, Emily, we got to look into that. So it generally does. It will then like interact with you. So we'll check that after it. And it uses the JD to formulate questions. and then interact with you. And then it'll score it and give you feedback on the interview. We also have a way where you can just test, do generic questions. So if you come over here to all tools, you see a bunch of other tools we have within Teal. I'm really focusing on the main ones, but interview practice, you can do like, just tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? So you can test very specific questions if you just want to like work on the beginning part of interviews. So we've got a tool that helps you with that. So let's say we do those. I would then recommend that you track your interviews. You can do your, so say our interviews next week. Go ahead and do that. What type? It was a screen. It's a Zoom. Again, what gets measured gets managed. So tracking is better. You can then add interviewees. You can either search your contacts or create a contact right here. There is a contacts tracker in Teal. So if you go here, that would add it there. And that's going to give you all your data. And then you can just add more interviews, track your progress. And then eventually you're going to get an offer. You're going to move it over to negotiating. And we have some neat things here. You can also like start to keep all your notes in that job. You could track it all. We have this pretty neat compensation tool where it'll give you like a heat map of all the jobs in your tracker. So you could see where the comp range is. It's all the active jobs in your tracker. Where are they from a years of experience? And so you can use this as research for your negotiating. This tool's free. Does use AI to parse up all of the JDs, but it's here. It's this compensation tool. You have to have, I think, at least 5 jobs bookmarked to see it. But it's right here in compensation. And then you can do this offer analysis where if you upload the offer letter, then you can like chat with it, and it's using AI to give you feedback on it. It's not really like a negotiation coach, but it can help you understand the components of your offer. Since we're short on time, I'm not going to jump into that too much right now. Just going to make you guys aware of what was available. And then, you're going to move it to accepted. You're going to land that job, and that's going to be your process. I recommend you stay on top of your pipeline and your funnel, like tend to it daily. If you haven't heard back from a company, I'd say in 3 weeks, just go ahead and like move it to no response. Tend to your pipeline, just like get things out, keep it moving, update it on a regular basis. And so you really want to keep a cadence. I think ultimately an effective job search is about a cadence and staying consistent, and do not stop until your first day at your new job, because you just never know what could happen. The best thing that you can happen is that you have 3 offers and you can negotiate and you have leverage. So really try to keep that cadence, find a cadence that doesn't burn you out, and just stick with it. And like, the more you do it, the more you'll build those muscles, and you'll see it start to stack. All right. So I will wrap there and stick around for questions. This is all being recorded. It'll be on YouTube. Our newsletter will have a link to the recording of this in YouTube. It'll be on YouTube probably within the hour after this, because we're streaming to it, so it just goes automatically. So if you go to our YouTube account, you'll just see it on there. But let me stop my screen share and just answer any questions. Let's see, just send whatever you got. I'm happy to answer them, whether they're Teal related or just general job search related as well. Can you create the target? So let's go with this question. Can you create a target company search? So you can filter by company in our job search. One of the features we're really looking to build out this month that we are hoping to have live is job alerts. So, because it's a lot of work to have to keep going back to the job boards, so that you can set up very specific, if it's like one just for companies you want to know as soon as a job gets posted. So we're working on those. We're actually actively doing user testing. If anyone wants to give us some feedback on that stuff, send me or Emily an email or put in a support ticket, and we'd love to talk to you about it. But that is going to get pushed to you, so you don't have to keep coming. But in our current job search, you can filter that, and almost every job board has that. So you can definitely do that. Okay, does Teal experience fake job posts due to AI? So we the providers that we buy the job data from, so we don't scrape jobs ourselves directly, and companies can't pay to post jobs on Teal right now. So they only come from corporate ATSs. So there's a chance that we have some fake ones on there, but it should be really, really low because they're just directly pulled from company pages, company career sites. So there really shouldn't be many. I'm sure some sneak through the cracks, but since companies can't post on here like they can on traditional job boards, we really think of what we have as more of a job search engine than a job board, because none of them are sponsored. There's 0 sponsored jobs on our job board. It's data that we procure, we structure, we clean up, and we're really trying to give you the most detailed facets as possible so that you can search for the jobs you want. Oh, I totally forgot to show a feature I wanted to show you guys. So let me bring back my stage. So this is a new feature that we've been rolling out that I'm particularly excited about, and I'd love for all of you to test. It's free right now, but if you come over to the job search and you go to the AI job search, you can use this for more kind of like complex queries and work through some ideas. And we have some, like, I think within the next few days, it will be aware of your resume, so it'll find you things that are a match. So let's try this. I'm looking for senior marketing director jobs that make over 150K. And ideally, it would be in the B2B space, and the company's, like probably over 1,000 employees. Every time I do this, I try to pressure test it and see if I can break it, which is probably not the best to do in a live webinar, but hey, that's what we do. So now it's going to sort of structure my query. It's going to, I can now interact with it. So think of it as like ChatGPT as your personal job search agent. And it's going to look through the same entire database that the job search has, but it has different abilities to kind of query in different ways. So it's found me 72 jobs. And you can use this. It's really great for career pivoters because you might be wanting to search like on a sort of more skill-based way or intent-based way. So it can work for discovery. So cool. It found me some neat ones, and you can go into those. And you get a similar interface. You can bookmark it, create a resume. But then you can also ask it like follow-up questions. So show me some more healthcare marketing positions, and then it'll run on that. But you can see some of the other follow-up questions we had, some of the marketing directors. You can also use it for like research on companies. So I'll start a new research and say like, what are some of the most recent job openings at OpenAI, and what can we tell about their hiring trends? So if you want to research companies, it's all through the JDs. This has access to the database of 3 million jobs. So you can ask it about companies, what are the benefits at a company? So it'll get a bunch of the jobs and it'll look at the benefits. What are the typical benefits for a product marketer? And it'll tell you that. So here, most recent jobs in the last 14 days. And then it'll show me the most recent openings. So this is a functionality we're super, super excited about. I think it's going to really change how we job search. But I check it out. It's just when you go to the job search, it's secondary AI job search. And that's how you can get to that. There's also a public version of it, which is at and you can do that without an account. But the benefits of having an account is probably by Monday or Tuesday, it will have awareness of your resume. So it will by default find you things that are matched to your resume. And that'll be part of how it searches for jobs. You'll be able to turn that off if you want. And we're going to have more and more to have it awareness of your context, all the jobs in your tracker, all that kind of cool stuff. So give it a shot. We'd love the feedback on that. We're actively working on trying to make that better. Okay, let me look at some more questions. Yeah, Mark, that's soon. That's not actively in our pipeline about the jobs you've bookmarked before. And so like, show me more like this, or the ones that I've already had success with. Maybe you sent in that support ticket suggestion. That was a really good one. So it's making its way onto our roadmap for the rest of this year, but we're focused on the resume first, and then that'll come. Oh, thanks, Diane. It will be, so actually, Gabby's question is, which one will it be aware of? So it's by default, it will use your entire resume. And if you want to pick a specific resume, it'll have a drop down that you can pick which resume you want to base it off of. I'm not going to cook the books here. Anytime you fill this out, that's super helpful for us. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully, Gabby, that answered your question. So we're trying to account for both, because if you're pursuing a few different career paths, you may not want it to search with the entirety of your resume. So we're going to enable you to just pick which resume you want to use or have it use all the data by default. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate all your feedback. Keep it coming. James, probably early next year, maybe even by the end of this year. We're just releasing our new data pipeline for the jobs. I think today it's going into QA. It's far more robust and can process more jobs. Canada's an easy one. It's English. It's so international is more difficult. Like non-English speaking international is more difficult. So my goal is to get those pretty soon. Hopefully within the next month, but worst case early in the new year. Let's see here. This question. Let's say you had a job. Let me move this screen here so it's not seeing the side of my face. Let's say you had a job title in an expanded role. Oh, I love this question. So this is one that I think really gets people's kind of stomachs twisted in knots because you feel like you're lying if you change your job title, and you're not. Ultimately, you shouldn't feel burdened by the way a company chooses to brand their job title, because that's hurtful for you. If you were a chief rock star of sales, right? But really the most appropriate market title would be chief revenue officer or VP of sales. You should feel absolutely comfortable and confident changing your title to that. If that still makes you a little uncomfortable, what you could do is put that and then parentheses. You can choose which one you put first, but you can kind of use parentheses as of this is what it actually was. Or you could use the position description as a way to say what it actually was. But titles are one of the first things recruiters and hiring managers look at. And I think you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't change it, especially if the company was kind of cute with their job titles like this. So I would highly recommend that you change it and make it appropriate. The worst thing that can happen is that they call the company to try to confirm and say, hey, was this person that? And it's like, well, no, that we had it titled as this. But essentially that was their responsibility. So as long as you're not lying about your responsibilities, but you're changing the title, that's okay. Like say you had a position that was consumer marketer, but you actually managed people and you're applying for marketing manager positions. It's okay. Go ahead and change it, because people are going to make assumptions off the title. So I would say adapt to the market, but don't lie. All right. Oh, interesting. This is a good question. If a company was acquired, do you list the acquirer name or the original company? My general advice is use the one that's going to be more known, right? You want to leverage familiarity bias. I think a lot of folks really think their resumes need to be these written versions of history in a super factual way. And no one has to check that. At the end of the day, the resume is a marketing document, not a historical document. So I would use whatever information you have to your advantage. So if the company that acquired is this big conglomerate that no one knows their name of, but knows their name, but they know all their sub brands, use the sub brand. And the inverse is true. So I would just use whatever better positions you, what's going to be more familiar. And this is assuming you're staying in the same industry. Or you can do both. You can do company and then acquired by if you wanted to put both on there. So you can definitely handle that. But there's no textbook way to do that. Just do whatever you feel best positions you. All right. I think we'll wrap there. My voice was able to make it through 65 minutes. Got a little raspier as we go. And it's time to do the record, sing a song. But thank you all for joining. We're going to try to do these once a month. If you have any feedback, send it our way. We haven't been doing a good job about sending follow-up surveys, but that's mostly because I was running these by myself. Now that Emily's involved, they're going to get a lot better. And so we love feedback. The one we did last month was with Bogdan. He's an incredible speaker and he had a great PowerPoint deck. We're going to try to do another one with him in November. And so, the more you like these, let us know. Emily's running office hours, I think on Mondays or once a month on Mondays. So check our newsletter for those. However, we really want to engage with you guys and make Teal better for you, but ultimately like help you land a job. That's number one. So we really welcome your feedback. Use the little gray question mark in the lower right, whatever we can do to help you with your job search. Ideally, we can make the software better, but sometimes that takes us a little longer than we'd like. So we can point you towards other resources, other tools. We want to help everyone on here land a job they love. So thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you at the next one.